Hello folks, welcome back to part 2 of Do It Better, rebuilding Manchester United. It is a bit tongue-in-cheek, yeah. But I read a lot of the comments on the last video and a lot of people think that this challenge is too easy. Being Manchester United in FM is too easy. I don't necessarily disagree. But the big point for me in Do It Better is watching what happened in real life and adapting to what I thought was going so drastically wrong at United, in this example, and changing it and implementing my own tactical style. For example, using Ronaldo on the wide left position and playing Cavani for an entire season. I'm not sure many people that are using Manchester United in their own saves are doing that. So hopefully we see this series as something where I highlight some of the tactical differences that can be made, and we talk about the processes within Football Manager and how player types and player roles can interact with one another, and how you can maybe get the best out of your save if you see some points here that can work into your own thing. It basically just allows me to be a bit more technical and tactical in FM, and hopefully you enjoy watching it. So let's crack on with episode 2. We've played a lot of games. We played Liverpool today as a bit of a live commentary, and we could talk through how we've got on so far. So welcome back, and the system, as you know it straight off the bat, hasn't changed really, but it has had one subtle difference. Of course, when we started this, Luke Shaw was playing as a fullback on a defensive duty. I was very concerned about how we would deal with Cristiano being sort of this free role, and if we basically let him do too much of whatever he wanted, and it would then leave other people exposed. What we actually found was playing the defensive duty just sits your defender like 5 yards behind everybody else. Don't use it, is my example, viewers. Unless your whole team is set defensively, don't use it. So in games where these 3 players would be pushed up an extra 5 yards, Luke Shaw would just sort of be lingering, playing everyone else on side. Not wise. And also the debate has been had really. Do I play Alex Telles or do I play Luke Shaw? Right now, Telles is in there, but I feel like both are very, very similar, so you don't really lose out with either of them. So of course, we're going to analyse what's going right in this system, and to do that, let's take a look at the Premier League table. So far, we are 9 games in, we've won 8 of them, and we've lost just the 1, and that loss, sadly for us, was to Arsenal, who are having a phenomenal season. They're going invincible again, viewers. They will never shut up about it, ever again. Now, the different story has been the Champions League. You can see from the fixtures here, we lost 2-0 to Villarreal. We lost 1-0 to Salzburg in the Champions League. We've recently beaten Slavia Prague, so we're back on track. But basically, and I won't lie to you, viewers, I played these 4 games, I won them all, and I thought, we'll have a little bit of a rotation versus Villarreal. Shouldn't have done it. Then I thought, well, do you know what? Lightning can't strike twice. We won't rotate quite as much this time around. We'll play a pretty full-strength side. Got beat. So I don't really know what's going on in the Champions League, but as you can see from the league form and the League Cup form as well, we've been doing rather well. The highlight, kind of obviously, is the 3-1 victory we had over Manchester City, Barella, Cavani and Kondogbia getting the goals. And something needs to be said straight off the bat, and I'm not going to avoid this and act like I'm a genius Football Manager player and everything's going great. I'm going to kick this video off by saying that crossing and corners are too strong in Football Manager. They're too strong. You probably want me to provide some evidence. Well, here it is. This is the type of assists we've had so far in the save. Through balls, 4. Crosses, 8. Corners, 6. So there's your 14. Add it on. 18 if you include the free kicks as well. I think I've scored 2 direct free kicks. So goals that aren't from crosses or corners, 6. Not a lot when you consider how many goals we've scored. In domestic cup matches, it's the same story. All the goals in that, apart from the mistake, were headers. So while some of the crosses are being played in, and we're in a funny situation here. I said last episode that this was kind of part of the plan. The way that I've set this United side up is to do exactly this. So it's 2 parts really. One, I set them up to do this in a very specific way, and we'll talk about that specific way in just a moment. On the other hand, it feels just too strong to me, and it's something that I think FM have to address. I don't necessarily think it happens all the time if you're not playing this way, but I think corners, especially if you're using certain corner systems and tactics, they're a bit strong. I'm sure many of you are wondering what they are, and again, I mentioned this in a recent video, but Seki Delacard did a video where he got Donnarumma to score a lot of goals. You should definitely check it out. I'll leave it in the description. I've sort of used a similar model with using a near post corner to a big defender, and Varane is having a great time. The near post corner it's been strong in previous years, but it seems extra strong this year. We have an outswinger from Bruno on one side, the in swing on the other side. and it just seems to work. If you've got enough presence and bodies in there, as I say, it does work. Look, when you've got Harry Maguire, Varane and Ronaldo and Cavani as well, sort of lingering, lurking around, obviously this is going to happen. But again, it does feel a bit strong. Do I just claim it's part of the strategy? Who knows? So let's start by talking about that particular triangle that we set up. And the triangle I'm talking about is this one. Bruno Fernandes, Jadon Sancho and Aaron Wan-Bissaka are crossing balls in like nobody's business. And again, kind of the strategy. When you look at the presences we've got in forward areas, both Cavani and Ronaldo are very good aerially. So getting the most out of those two boys by using this attacking winger in Sancho. And I think a lot of people would try and use him on the left as an inside forward and have him be quite tricky. And we talked about it last time. That's not what I want to do with him. I want him to beat players and put crosses in. And so far this season, only the one assist, but a lot of it is him running, forcing defenders back and then laying it off to Bruno Fernandes and to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So for Wan-Bissaka, as an example, we'll bring it up here. 3 assists for him so far this season. And Bruno Fernandes, I think, has got the most in any competition. Yeah, 7 assists right now for him. I think he leads the Premier League in assists. He does indeed. Ronaldo's got 5 as well. So on that left-hand side, occasionally he's putting in the odd cross as well. And we're seeing, again, Cavani get the fruits of that. And some of the players centrally too are getting forward and being involved. But if you come over and take a look at the pass map, admittedly this was against Birmingham, and it's actually not with the players that I'd ordinarily use, but this is very much what we work out and how we create attacks. You can see that triangle on the left-hand side, and in this example, it's Dalot, Renato Sanchez and Diallo playing it. But the same applies for every game you play, in that we are trying to work the ball out wide into these crossing positions. Most notably on the right-hand side, you can see a lot of passes go forward to Diallo, but a lot of them come back to Wan-Bissaka. Hopefully you can just about see the arrows clearly enough to know that that's going on. And getting it into these positions and then putting crosses into the centre, absolutely crucial. That kind of brings me to an additional point. One of the comments that I saw in one of the videos yesterday was, what happens if Cavani gets injured? Who plays as your pressing forward up front? You don't really have one, Ben. We do, and I'm not sure if we should. Marcus Rashford is a really competent, like very well-rounded pressing forward. 14 work rate, sorry, it was not 14 work, 16 work rate, 14 aggression, sorry. Really good physical attributes. Again, if you can keep him fit, like, he kind of is the guy. If anything, he could be starting ahead of Cavani because of how quick he is. But again, you do lose a bit of that hold-up play presence. Again, the jumping reach and the heading, not quite the same. But in terms of just pressing and pushing players back, then he does a really good job of that. But how can we spend any longer not talking about Cristiano Ronaldo? It's kind of obvious that he would be this good, you have to say, but he is being very, very good. A shots on target percentage of 48% so far. This is the bit that is, again, very important to me, but equally a bit strong. His headers won ratio is 81%. Now we'll look at his heading stats again just in a moment, so you can. Well, in fact, we'll do it here. Heading stats: jumping reach 17, heading 19. There aren't many players that can do it better than that, it's fair to say. But every time he jumps, if he jumps 5 times, he wins the ball 4 times. It's very strong, and he's going up against centre-backs, but very often full-backs. Kind of why I put him on the left. Like, I don't think he should be going up against the powerhouses in the centre. Put him against these full-backs that aren't prepared to handle a player like Cristiano, and you'll get a really good performance from him week in, week out. So far in the Premier League, an 8.01. That's pretty good. Picks up a lot of fouls as well. Gets fouled more than anybody else in the league. It's very impressive. And he's won all his tackles. So who says he doesn't work hard? But playing him on that side became a conversation of, well, how and why would you play him out there when you know there's this defensive liability? 14 tackles won. I'll take it back. But this is the key man in all of this. Kondogbia is important, and we'll come to him in a moment. But Barella is the best midfielder I've used in Football Manager ever. I'll just say it now, ever. And I've used SMS. I know how good Milinkovic-Savic is. This man, and you sort of have to focus in a little bit. I'll zoom in so you can see it. Zoom into the mouse, Ben, so we can see what's going on. Barella has a 94% pass completion and a 92% tackles won ratio. That is absurd. He's not dribbling a huge amount. He's got goals and assists to his game as well, and he's on a 7.44. To me, it should be higher. The work rate he gets through and the amount of work he gets through is phenomenal. Such a good player. Again, playing that shuttle position on that left-hand side, covering for Ronaldo at every opportunity, allowing Bruno to do what Bruno does. And we've seen from the pass graphs, right, we don't feed the ball through the centre all that often. A lot of our work does go through these wider positions, but absolutely crucial. I can't emphasise that enough. He's got a 92% tackles won ratio. Every time he goes for one, he's pretty much getting it. And then when he's got the ball, very good pass completion, and his shots on target percentage, he's making smart decisions. 64% is a very high shots on target ratio. Kondogbia, sitting just behind him, to give you an idea, he is our ball-winning midfielder. His tackles one percentage is 63%. It shows you how good Barella is at this. It should never be that good. Pass completion, though, from Kondogbia, again, 94%. Something we said last time is we want him there because we want him to get the ball and distribute it, pop it off left, right, and centre, and it does that really, really well. Had a couple of games where he really struggled. In the game against Arsenal, I'm going to focus on that in a minute. We had to change things against them. Obviously, we lost the game, but Kondogbia had a really poor performance, and I want to highlight why. I don't think focusing on all of our wins is necessarily that important. While we're losing games and then adapting to that will help you win more Football Manager matches. So we'll talk about it. And the final thing to mention is how many shots we're having, how many shots on target we're having, and how difficult we're making it for teams to defend against us. Cavani, despite all the things that have gone on, has had 45 shots so far this season. Shots on target 26, more than anybody else in the league, and is having an average of 5 shots a game. He is peppering teams. He's got 6 goals in 9 appearances. In my opinion, it should probably be more. I think if you look at the expected goals, Cavani so far has 6, and his XG is higher. For those that have played FM, you'll know usually a high XG suggests more goals. He could have had a fair few more. Ronaldo, of course, on these lists as well. He isn't too far behind. And that is where our main source of goals comes from. We're looking at for Cavani and Ronaldo to be our goal scorers. Of course, Ronaldo's on the left-hand side. Everyone else is there to support those players. Like when Barella's getting a few goals, or Fernandes is, or Sancho's chipping in. That's great. It's not massively part of the plan. So I'm curious to see by the end of the season how many goals will these two boys have picked up, and that's where it gets more and more interesting for me. And how the system develops over time as well. Like so far, Maguire and Varane have done really well. De Gea has been fine. Wan-Bissaka has been too good, I would say. But yeah, I'm happy with how he's playing. And that kind of feeds into the idea, as I said at the start of the video, that some of you think this Manchester United save is a little bit too easy. Of course, you can't really put desire, heart, actual want to play well into Football Manager. You can, but through like hidden attributes and how they all intertwine with one another is a factor. And of course, we've changed the midfield up quite dramatically as well. An important thing to note as well, and if you've watched my saves for a long time, you'll know that my rotation in things like Glory Hunter, not that good. Not an issue for me in this save. Yeah, we're very much using the games that we have, whether it be Champions League games or League Cup games, to make use of all of the squad. Having a squad this good makes that a little bit easier. You can see how many people have scored goals outside of our regular 11. Greenwood's got one, Rashford's got one, Lindelof's got one, Sanchez, Perisic, McTominay contributing. That's what you want to see from players that are coming in and you know, helping the team hopefully improve in certain areas. But before we get to the Liverpool game, and I do want to focus on that, I also think talking about this Arsenal result is important. The only goal we scored was a penalty in the second half, but you can see there after 16 minutes we were 2-0 down, and it was a problem. You can see from the XG graph how early in the game it was completely getting away from us, and then later on after the penalty we sort of came into it a little more in the second half once we changed things around a little bit. Arsenal was still playing well, but we at least felt a little bit more competitive. And if you look at the match stats down the bottom there wasn't too much between the teams. Like, yes, our goal was a penalty, it massively improves the XG, but we certainly grew into the game as it went on. The things to highlight then were the goals that Arsenal scored and the changes we had to make. So we started off playing quite a low line against an Arsenal side that I actually thought if we could defend quite deeply. I don't really rate the pace of Lacazette, who was up front, anymore. And the ball goes out to Tomiyasu on this side. He puts a cross in. Martinelli heads home. Defensively, Wan-Bissaka should do better. Whoever was playing left back on this occasion should do better. It didn't happen. But it was this goal from Smith Rowe, and it highlighted one of the issues that we have maybe centrally that I wasn't fully aware of. And it's to do with, I think it's to do with Kondogbia being on a support duty over a defensive duty. Obviously, it's difficult to know. We can't run it back and see. But if you watch the movement of Kondogbia here and how easy it is for Smith Rowe, who ends up being the goal scorer, to float into a space where we aren't covering, the problem starts way before that. So it starts with Ramsdale, who launches the ball clear and it's headed back. But we're focusing on the movement of Kondogbia, right? And these wide players were the problem. Martinelli, Saka and Smith Rowe managed to get the wrong side of our midfield and proved that sometimes when we're not in control of the play and not in control of the overall game, that's when things can get difficult. Martinelli moving inside, that movement there was almost like problem number one. Suddenly, Kondogbia's playing right back. Wan-Bissaka has been chasing Martinelli centrally. We all have to sort of reformat and come back to where we were. But at this point, positionally, I mean, I don't. Telles is way out wide. I'm not sure why he's so wide. Lacazette just makes a simple run off Maguire, which he can do quite simply. The ball goes across to Martinelli, and Kondogbia is doing, at this point, Kondogbia is doing nothing. No one's marking Smith Rowe, who appears to just have a free roll. There's two things we could have done, and the reason I bring this up, could have man-marked him with Kondogbia. It wouldn't have been the worst thing. It would have stopped a huge part of Arsenal's attacking play, and maybe we should have done it. Equally, playing him on a defensive duty would have had him sit that little bit deeper, maybe drop off 5 yards and be able to see what's in front of him. So you can see there, like the player actually does the movement in game. You might not have caught that because it happens so quickly. We'll just go back a little bit. Watch the player model. And I know watching this in 2D, which might be freaking you out, but again, you can see a better top-down view. The player model turns over his left shoulder. I'm going to slow it right down. I know it's stupid, but like this is genuinely obviously something that happens and you don't pick up on in the match engine. Kondogbia's player model has a little look for where Smith Rowe is. He knows where Smith Rowe is playing. Watch the legs, the little white dots. Looks for Smith Rowe. Can't see him, so assumes he's in a good defensive position. You can see there as well. Sanchez, he lets Smith Rowe run off him. Kondogbia turns. It's too late, and Smith Rowe converts. And we're just getting dragged a little bit too much all over the place. So playing that deeper line, we allowed Arsenal the space. In the second half, we played a higher line, and it completely restricted what Arsenal were able to do in behind. Actually, they couldn't get a period of possession higher up the pitch, and as a result, we actually managed to get ourselves a penalty and have a little bit more attacking pressure. In the first half, though, Arsenal ran us ragged. So that led me to have two tactics now. We have a high line United and a low line United, and that brings us perfectly, really, to the game. It's almost like we plan these videos. To the game against Liverpool and how we approach this game going into it. Now, for what we know about Liverpool, they play a gegenpress style. They're a dangerous team to play against. You don't really want to give space for Mane and Salah in behinds. The game tells me differently. So on the next opponent overview, what's predicted here is that the team will be pretty much as you'd expect it to be. Two Mazzalas running forward, two inside forwards on either side, Jota playing up front. But the style is to be more tiki-taka. As it says here, it's an extreme variant on controlled possession. And the way in which they're going to play, if they are to play like this, gives us a bit of a headache. We saw against Arsenal that the interplay around Kondogbia caused him problems, which means we have some options here. Now, we can either play two players next to each other, have Kondogbia and Barella both sit differently, but then are you losing the attacking positioning of Barella? Because we're basically playing the 3v3. The example that was shown there was Fabinho, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Keita in the centre against the likes of Kondogbia, Fernandes and Barella. Now, even as a Liverpool fan, this midfield is better than that. But it is. Barella being the key factor in that. So am I prepared to go toe-to-toe with them and not change stylistically how this works? I am. And I'm hoping that Ronaldo's presence on this left wing will actually force Trent to be a little bit more reserved as well. And the job that Barella and Telles do will be enough to stop Salah on that side with Trent. I obviously don't know if it will, and we'll keep a very close eye on this as we go into it. And I'm a little bit worried about whoever's running off Harry Maguire because he can't turn. But all in all, I think that situation should be dealt with based on what I've seen so far this season. It's the movement from the midfielders that run beyond Fernandes and beyond Barella when he's worried about what's going on over here. That's the bit that concerns me. But we're going to find out. And the big question then comes, do we play the high line or do we play the low line against this Liverpool side? And I'm going to gamble and I'm going to play the high line because I think if we can force Liverpool back, if we can make the Mazzalas not play like Mazzalas, we have a much better chance at making this work. Again, Sancho comes back in on that side. He's been injured recently. He can only play 75 minutes. We've been using a combination on that right-hand side of Greenwood or Rashford or Renato Sanchez to play out on the right-hand side. Basically, right-footers that will be prepared to put balls in. I'm now curious to see how it works. And if we can beat Liverpool at Anfield. Probably not. The reality is this is probably the toughest game you play all year in FM. Maybe going to the Etihad is quite difficult, as is going to Stamford Bridge. But I'm very interested to see. And the key thing for me, again, is how Barella deals with what's going on the left-hand side. And if there are goals, where those goals come from. Again, we can analyse it after as well to figure out where it's gone wrong or where it goes right. As you can tell from my mood, I'm apprehensive, viewers. And episode 2, as you can tell, is a little bit longer. So, yeah, we're going in depth here. I don't doubt I can do this better than Ollie. I just think I can do it cooler as well. All right, the Liverpool team is as expected. The big miss for them is Andy Robertson, who's actually the highest performing player in the league right now. So without them, we might be okay. All right, as much as I love 2D, we'll go to 3D for the use of this. What I have been using a lot more for tactical stuff, and I know Zealand uses it in his streams and videos as well, is the sideline view. I think for your eyes, though, it's better if we use the TV view because you just see what's going on better. All right, early patterns of play that we get to see, that's going to be pretty crucial to the whole of the game, really, as we get a very early booking on the left-hand side. If there's a player I don't want to get booked, it's probably our left back against Trent and against Mo. That's the concern immediately. But performance-wise right now, I'm looking at the midfield, and I'm looking at the performances of Keita. It's not all that good. He's on a booking now as well. Salah's on a 6.4. It seems that we're containing them quite early on, despite the fact they've had quite a lot of shots. I'd be interested to see at half-time where those shots are coming from. But our first highlight of the game, and we're going to find out then where Liverpool, if they have to be successful, will be successful. Lovely work from Bruno straight away to track back. The slide challenge is a little bit rash. It makes me nervous. Fabinho now with loads of space, but we don't really mind that too much. If he's going to shoot from there and score, so be it. The ball in behind is dangerous. We're very lucky. I mean, on two levels, really, the ball in behind is really good. The finish, I think it's Salah that has the shot, is abysmal. Analytically, on the average positions, you can see there, they're pretty much the same. Despite playing a high line, we are slightly deeper, which does suggest Liverpool are having more of the play. You can see from the shots, none of them have been that good. I suspect these are probably headers. We've had the shot from Salah, which is very high XG actually at 0.67, but some low XG efforts from both Jota and from Van Dijk in that area. Salah again, a very low XG chance. Mane had another one there. So we're restricting Liverpool to quite low XG opportunities. I suspect those two were free kicks that were unsuccessful. Whereas so far, speaking of low XG, Ronaldo had a shot which got no XG, which is, I mean, what did he do? I feel like that's tough to do, viewers. So far, our pass completion stats are pretty good, aside from Sancho, who admittedly has made a couple of crosses, which have been not that successful, but 61% is quite low. Same with Ronaldo. It's quite clear that it's not quite sticking in those areas. Cavani, on the other hand, playing that central role again, a bit more of a hold-up style, 88%. So he is managing to bring players into play. We just aren't having maybe the opportunities yet. I don't necessarily think there's anything to change right now, other than maybe making Fernandes not quite as attacking. Having him play the more supportive role. Again, you've got them both there. Kondogbia on the support role as well. I like the fact they're close together. I think it increases the pass completion. I think it makes sort of getting out of jail a little easier with them as well. So, yeah, we'll carry on. Right now, I'll be honest, I'm not that concerned. Well done on controlling the possession so far. It's what we wanted. Do you know what? Something I didn't actually pick up on is we've got 58% of the ball. So, again, despite the fact our wingers aren't keeping it fantastically, we are doing a really good job of controlling the game away at Anfield. And it'll be interesting as well. Salah, Keita, Van Dijk, all on bookings. Tell us as well, if they get sent off, that could change the game massively. And then it'll be about how we exploit some space. Obviously, I'm sort of talking this up now as if they're going to get a red card when it could be us. One thing that's not happening is we're not having chances. So as good as this has been in containing them, we're also not creating here. And Cavani's hold-up play, while pivotal to us keeping the ball, he's not causing enough problems to the opposition. He's on a 6.3. I don't necessarily know if that's fair, really. As it says there, from performance-wise, he's playing okay. The 6.3 is probably a case of the fact he's not had a shot or scored yet, but playing okay, I want him to play okay. The option is there for us, though, in Marcus Rashford. We talked about him before. I guess the conversation here is that Cavani is there for his aerial presence, but how successful is he being aerially against Van Dijk and against Konate? Okay, I had to stretch out the middle graphic, but you can see there, Cavani's aerial completion is 33%. So it's kind of irrelevant. So as a result, Rashford, and we're going to keep him as the pressing forward, but I think the pace will be more important in the second part of this game. Don't think Cavani did badly, and again, I'm worried about the fact that Rashford's hold-up play won't be as good, but equally, this might cause... When Rashford comes on, Liverpool won't be enjoying that, I don't think. Early corner, though, for them, as it's just about headed away. Of course, corners, as we've established earlier in the video, are very strong this year, as are crosses, and Trent is not a man you want to give chances to. I mean, he's hit the outside of the post. We're hanging on, but we're still in control of the game. Still 58% possession. Headers won, very similar across. We're winning most of our tackles. Our passes completed. We've had nearly 200 more passes than Liverpool. As the game is ticking on, this is such a strange game because in the context of the season, not losing here is huge. But in the context of the game right now, I would like to see us do a bit more offensively. I don't necessarily think, though, there is another change I would make here. Like maybe Sancho off for Renato, in that you're bringing on a player that is going to be better and more composed when on the ball. But that's about it. I mean, you look at Sancho, though. His attributes for keeping the ball, his passing, his composure, his decision-making, it's not bad. All right, we're going to carry on. We're going to leave it as we are. We could have changed the mentality. We could have gone to a more passive approach. We could have got more attacking. Regardless, we actually have a highlight, viewers. If it's our only chance, then we've played it perfectly. The pace of Rashford goes for goal, hits the post. I say the pace of Rashford. He moved into the space really well. He didn't exactly get in behind. He maybe could have got at them a little bit, but chose not to. Ronaldo back to Telles. Ball in, Sancho header towards goal. Nice to see us actually have an opportunity. 61% possession, and we're going to come away from Anfield with a point. I admit, it's not that great to watch from a perspective of goals, but from a perspective of game management, it's kind of perfect. 60% of the ball, 700 passes, and while Liverpool had to defend pretty well, I'm pretty sure if we look at our right, you can't quite see this actually because I'm in the way. We'll just put it up here for now. Liverpool formation, you can see just how well the defence have played in terms of average rating. If we look at United, on the other hand, the exact same story. I thought it was going to be a battle of the midfield. It turns out, really, it was a battle of defences, and both did very, very well at keeping the other out. Liverpool had some big chances that I think they'll probably regret not taking. One clear cut. But yeah, 19 shots from them, a very high XG. But I kind of say it like this to me tells the whole story. It's the very bottom stat there. The average ratings 7.1 for United, 6.92 for Liverpool, and in a game where they've dominated in terms of shots and everything like that, we've played better as an overall, and we'll take it. And to me, that is job done. Again, coming away from this place with a point and not losing keeps us in the hunt for the title. It may keep us top of the table. It will depend on what Arsenal did. But you can see there, for now, 25 points after 10 games. It's a pretty good start. Of course, we'll see how this tactic develops and how it changes and if we need to make additions and alterations to what happens on the pitch. But so far, so good. And hopefully you're enjoying Do It Better. Again, a different change of pace to what I normally do. But hopefully you've enjoyed some of the tactical elements you can take away from this. And feel free, leave your thoughts in the comments as well. How would you maybe alter it or change it? Admittedly, so far, it's going pretty well. Maybe some of you are just going, well, yeah, of course, it's a really good team and you've just plugged and played. But I haven't. I've played Ronaldo as a trequartista. Right, take care, everybody. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more. Goodbye. And check out the Clips channel. It's a link in the description. Here's a clip of me not doing very well at golf. Okay, let's fire that one.
Holy shankopotamus, look at this shot.
I don't know what's annoying. I don't know what's more annoying, the shot or the commentary. Shankopotamus, they've just called me, viewers.